Now here we are at the southwest corner of the former Jefferson Davis Park on the Memphis riverfront at a historical plot number 4E93 from the Tennessee Historical Commission about the Sultana disaster. It says, one of the worst maritime disasters in world history occurred 7 miles north of Memphis on April 27, 1865, when the steamer Sultana exploded and burned with the loss of over 1,547 lives. Built to carry only 376 passengers, the Sultana had over 2,300 on board at the time of the disaster for the reasons I said earlier. Most were Union soldiers from Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and Virginia, who were on their way home following their release from the Confederate prisons at Andersonville and Cahaba. And as I said, they were overloaded because the steamship owners were being paid per head or per person for everybody they shipped, and they wanted to maximize their profits. Now, the reason you had so many Union prisoners at Southern prison camps is not something you can lay at the feet of the Southerners. The Confederates wanted to have prisoner exchanges just like they had at the beginning of the war, but as the war drug on, Lincoln began to realize that although his generals couldn't defeat the Confederate generals tactically and strategically in battle, he could win a war of attrition because the Union just had more men and material to throw on the pile of dead bodies. And he found with General U.S. Grant, a general that was willing to fight the war in that way. So the South was being burdened with the cost of feeding and maintaining all these Union prisoners that they captured, and that's exactly the way that the Lincoln administration wanted things to be. But there wasn't enough food even to feed the Confederate troops towards the end of the war, so these prisoners got the same rations at Andersonville, for example, that the Confederate soldiers that were guarding the garrison got. But, of course, this is the first war crimes approach to a defeated nation. What they did was they had a court-martial of the Confederate commander of Andersonville. He was a Major Wirtz, I believe it was, who originally came from Switzerland, and he was hung as a war criminal. But, of course, what he argued was that he had tried on several occasions to parole his prisoners to the Union-occupied territory of Florida and get them transferred to the Union-appointed provisional governor of Florida, but the governor, on Lincoln's orders, wouldn't take them because they wanted the South to be burdened with the expense and to use the rations necessary to feed all these prisoners to hasten the demise of the Confederacy. That's why there were so many prisoners in a weakened and sick condition being shipped north. And this was the biggest maritime tragedy in American history. There are over 200 more casualties or fatalities in this Sultana wreck than there were in the Titanic. But because this happened at approximately the same time as Lincoln's assassination at Ford's Theater basically preempted the headlines, and this Sultana disaster was not nearly as widely reported as it would have been otherwise, but for Lincoln's assassination. Confederate Park, where Jefferson Davis's statue was until December the 20th of 2017, when the City Council of Memphis and the city mayor, Jim Strickland, surreptitiously at night, when there were no judges that could issue an injunction around and sitting on the bench, they took down the statue of Jefferson Davis, and then at Forest Park, or the former Forest Park, they took down Nathan Bedford Forrest's exquisite, very artful equestrian statue. This was done even though there was a Tennessee Historical Commission injunction about doing that at the time against the city of Memphis. And there was a hearing set for January the 16th of 2018 where the matter was going to be determined, but the city council and some of the more radical elements of city government in Memphis decided they couldn't wait, so they sold the park supposedly to some private entity for $1,000 each, and the private entity immediately proceeded to get the statues removed.